Welcome to Dasher, where we explore the vast expanses of the Marvel and DC universes. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the history of superheroes being used in propaganda. Now, the intro wasn't the clearest. What we mean is we are going over times that heroes were used to spread an idea or a view, either political or not. We are going to start off with none other than Captain America. In the aftermath of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the US government enlisted the entire comic book universe for propaganda, and no other hero was more important for this than Captain America. As the physical embodiment of patriotism, he had no limits. Propaganda posters and comic books featuring him were used to inspire support for troops, encourage growing victory gardens, and boost the sales of war bonds for the military. But his importance didn't stop there. The government would send copies of Captain America comic books to soldiers fighting overseas in an attempt to boost morale, having storylines where the Americans always won. It glorified what the men were doing and led them to take pride in their duty to protect the American way of life. Next up, we actually have The Flash. In an essay titled Comic Books and the Cold War by brothers Chris and Raphael York, they proposed the idea that while some comics told the stories of direct confrontation between the forces of good, America, and evil, everybody else, some comics were much more subtle about it. The brothers then go on to explain how the Flash comics saying, "I can pass right through solid matter," and his unique fighting style of trapping his enemies actually suggests that it is a subtle nod to the Cold War, in a way where they tried to contain anything that threatened the American way of life while also not directly fighting. Pretty neat stuff, and I highly recommend checking out the essays yourself. Staying in the DC universe for a bit, we actually have a series of comics referred to as Landmine comics. The first installment, led by Superman, these comics targeted kids in Central and Southeastern Europe in the aftermath of World War II, and were used to educate them about the reality of unaccounted landmines and the danger they posted. With an estimated 4 to 6 million landmines being laid in that area at the time, it was highly important that this message got out there. These comics were distributed to orphanages, schools, refugee camps, and hospitals. Throughout the comic, the children were encouraged to spread this information as much as possible. A second installment was published in 1996 to parallel the Superman comic with Batman. This time, the comic takes place in a fictional location named Cravian, and its goal was to highlight the danger of landmines and their inability to discriminate between civilians and military when some of Batman's employees are injured and killed by them. A third installment was later made using both Wonder Woman and Superman and released in Latin America in 1993. To conclude, we will talk about both Captain America and Wonder Woman as their symbolism to the feminist ideals. If you were around the internet during the time of Captain Marvel, then it would be hard to ignore the huge controversy over that movie. A lot of people found the actor playing Captain Marvel to be a social justice warrior on a mission to promote herself over the film she was in. With her influence as Captain Marvel, she made it very clear that she believed that there needed to be more diversity in the movie industry, not only in acting but for interviewers and critics as well. Explaining herself, she would say, "I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time." Critics also argued that not only Larson, but the film itself was putting too much emphasis on the fact that Captain Marvel is female, referencing the teaser where the word her is more emphasized than the word hero. You could also find the same arguments being made to Wonder Woman as well. The creator of her character was actually inspired by feminism in 1941, basing Wonder Woman on Margaret Sanger's, a nurse who opened the first ever birth control clinic in the US, legacy and inspiration. And that concludes today's video, but what are your thoughts? What was some superhero propaganda that we missed, and which do you think was the most interesting? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching!